Hello, welcome to One Heart Being, a new YouTube channel. Please subscribe and like this channel. I will start by reading a poem I wrote. Centering Christ, we make quiet a monkey brain. We find peace in the rhythm of our hearts. Between heartbeats, there is a pause, impregnant with endless possibilities. Fertile ground that gives us the room to fly, embracing eternity, seeing the beauty in me and around me, knowing there's only love. For this gift we say amen. I'd like to say, to tell everybody, just move your shoulders and move your head, your head like this, and give yourself a hug and say, I matter.
I matter.
I love myself.
I love myself.
I love you, Marie.
I love Denise.
Okay, we'd like to share a story about when we went out west, Marie.
Sure. This is 2007.
Correct, yeah.
The four of us, our family, went together and we left Kitchener. And at that time it cost us $20 to go from where we lived to the train station because they're charging for carrying our luggage. Anyway, so we went from Kitchener to Toronto to the Union Station, and they told us to go downstairs and then come back up. And then because of that, they were saying, oh, you're going to be too late, you're going to miss your train. And I says, well, we booked it and everything else. So they held the train for us for an extra 5 minutes, and they shot us up the elevator and then took us directly to where we were going. And we got on, and then the train took off. And we went all the way across northern Ontario, and we stopped at
Chapleau. Chapleau. Yeah, Chapleau, yeah.
And they cleaned off the train and everything else. And
Cape Coral it was.
Oh, Cape Coral? Okay. Yes. One of those places. Up north. And then we continued on. And then we went as far as Winnipeg. And at Winnipeg, we got off the train.
Before we got there, we stopped at Sioux Lookout.
Oh, yeah, okay. But we didn't get off.
No.
And then we went to Winnipeg. And they gave you a blanket and a thing to put over your eyes and earplugs. And that was all you got to sleep in the economy train chairs. And the chairs lean back a little bit, but not a lot. Anyway, so when we got to Winnipeg, we got off the train because they were cleaning it inside and out and everything else. And they told you to be back in an hour. And we went down to the Winnipeg market.
Boy, it's windy up there.
And we bought some fresh fruit and that to eat on the train, which was good. And then we traveled on across the prairies.
Meanwhile, on the way there, I went upstairs in the dome to look out, and I sat in a chair, and there was right beside me there was a gold ring. Somebody had lost their ring, so I returned it to the conductor. The conductor, and this color guide said, "Oh, I just misplaced it or something." Yeah. So he got his ring back.
He was so happy, yeah. Anyway, then when we kept going and we went through Edmonton and we stopped there, and there was no place to go at that point. It was just a stop. And then when we got to Jasper, they had to have us come off the train again. And it was so beautiful. We went down the walkway in the little village there and saw the mountains in the background and that. And then when we saw the fires burning this past year, made me so sad to see that all destroyed. It was so...
So at what point did we meet Dave?
In Edmonton.
In Edmonton?
Yeah. We met a friend called Dave, and he looked like Santa Claus. He had a gray beard and that, and really nice.
Really nice man, yeah.
Yeah. And he was a really good friend to our son. And he was telling us that he did work with children learning about art and
Yeah, with
painting.
autistic children.
Yeah, autistic
And our
children.
son is, go ahead. Go
No,
ahead.
you're saying it.
No, you say it.
Asperger's syndrome. Sorry, Terry. Anyway, but it's they just clicked, him and our son. Anyway, then we went on the way, and he was talking to us from there till we got to Vancouver. And he said, "What are you doing tomorrow?" "Oh, we're going to go up to
A mountain.
to the mountain and see it and that." And he phoned us in the morning, and just as we were leaving, and he says, "I'll meet you there at 6:30 in the parking lot." So we did, and we went up the mountain together, and we had a meal together. And you see the lights of Vancouver at night. It was just so beautiful. And the next day, before that, we'd gone up to Whistler, and it was just before the beginning of the what do you call it?
Ski things?
No.
Yeah.
When Whistler was going to be part of the Olympics.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And they were just building all the units and that. And so we got to see all that. And then when the Olympics came on and we watched it on TV, he said, "Been there, done that." And we didn't have to pay the big prices for it anyway. Yeah. So, and then we went the next day to Horseshoe Bay, and we traveled across on the ferry all the way to Nanaimo on Vancouver Island, and we drove around Vancouver Island to
It's beautiful
Victoria.
out there. It's gorgeous.
Yeah. And we had a hotel for that night there. And then we came back and went across the ferry again the next day. And so we saw a little bit of all that beautiful area. And when we came back to Vancouver City itself, we were staying in an older hotel. It was only 3 stories high, but they were so nice to us. And on either side of that building, there were like 20-story high buildings.
Yeah.
And he says, "You're getting the best of both worlds," because we were only 3 blocks away from
the ocean.
The ocean, yeah. So we went down, put our feet in the ocean, because it was October and it was cold, but it was still beautiful. It wasn't raining. We had cold but clear, warm days that way.
Wasn't that cold?
No, you just needed a jacket.
Yeah.
Didn't need a winter coat. And so on the way back, we were going to get off in Winnipeg again, go to the market. But the train stopped going into Winnipeg, and it jarred, and we couldn't get off the train because there was an accident that had happened. And so we were delayed. So when we got back to Toronto, to Grand Central, to the Union Station, they said, "Well, you can go in a hotel for the night or whatever, or find your own way home to Kitchener." "Well, no, we want to go home tonight." So they said, "Well, we'll pay for you because the train isn't running because it only runs twice a day to Kitchener, and it's already gone because when we were in Winnipeg, we were delayed for 3 hours, 4 hours?"
We went out west in October because it was half price. That's why.
Yeah. And it was great. So anyway. So that was our trip out west. So we ended up taking a cab home, and the train people had to pay for the cab.
Honest. You forgot to tell her what happened on the mountain with Dave.
Oh, well, you can tell that.
Anyways, we went I went to pay for our supper, and the waiter says, "No, you don't have to pay." I says, "Why?" He says, "Dave already paid for your supper." Yeah. So he paid for our supper. For me, my wife, Rosemary, and Terry. Yeah. And we just met him. Yeah. So what
a wonderful man.
What a wonderful man that was, yeah. Anyways, you want to talk about when we went out east?
Okay. So we came home, Kitchener at that time, and we had 7 days because I phoned the train station. I says, okay, so we've got so many days left on the ticket. Where can we go for 4 more days? And you have so many days in between to do some traveling. So he says, oh, well, you can go to Halifax. Oh, okay. So in 7 days, we paid our bills, did our laundry, catched up with everything, and then we did it all over again, but this time we had to go from Kitchener to Toronto, switch trains, Toronto to Montreal, had to switch trains, and Montreal all the way to Halifax. So you're going through Quebec, but it was at nighttime, so you couldn't see it. And then we went through New Brunswick and then into Nova Scotia. And when it was daylight, you could see all these different train stations you were passing through.
So meanwhile, I rented a car and we stopped at a laundromat because we had to wash our clothes. So I'm looking around and there's like a piece of paper on the floor, so I pick up. Here's $20. It paid for our to do our laundry.
Yeah, that was
and
fun.
then we stayed at PEI, right?
Yeah, at the Econoline.
Right.
Yeah.
Tell that story.
So in Prince Edward Island at the Econoline, there were some casino games in the lobby, and you put $5 in and played them, and you get a credit, and you could cash it in or whatever. And so my daughter was old enough to play at that time, and Dennis played a game and I played a game, and we won enough for our 2 nights there.
So basically, we stayed there 2 nights
free.
For free. Because when I put $5, Marie put $5, and my
Rose
daughter,
put 5
yeah,
in.
and she won. I won, and my wife won.
Yeah, and the thing is, they were in the lodge at Econoline, in the room where they were. There was free coffee and tea or water in that same room, and popcorn, and you could get it 24/7. So we had a really good time that time.
So we went to Prince. What's that?
We drove around Prince Edward Island, saw Anne of Green Gables home,
Yeah.
but it wasn't open because it was off season. But we went to Charlottetown.
Yeah. So me and my wife were on the PI Island, and we get lost. So it didn't matter because you go so far and you hit the ocean. You go the other way, you hit the ocean. Eventually, we got back where we started from, but we were laughing because we're lost on an island.
And then we went down along Nova Scotia coast, and it was snowing.
Oh.
And people were in the ditch. I thought, where did they learn to drive? They're not from Ontario, I guess. Anyway, then we went across the what's it called again? The
causeway you're talking about?
The causeway, yeah.
Where does that go to? The island?
That goes to Cape Breton Island.
So this is October. I'm driving on this causeway. Causeway. It's basically a road in the middle of the ocean. It's October and it's really windy. All of a sudden, this big wave comes. It buries my car. I couldn't see where I was going. So I had to stop. I said, Marie, what do I do? So I just waited a few minutes and I went away. Then I continued. Then we get on the island and they said to me, Denis, I says, you see the causeway you drove across? I says, yeah. Well, there's big holes underneath there. A transport truck can drive underneath. They were telling me these stories because they didn't want me to leave, right? Yeah. They were not welcoming those.
And then we drove up halfway up the causeway on the one side past English Bay and that. And we stopped at this one place. And I go, looks like there's a bridge here according to the map. We weren't using Google Maps at that time. We just had a paper map. And we get there, and here's a little ferry crossing to the other side. And when we had come up, we had gone inlanded over, and then when we come down, we were coming back a different way. And we stopped, and we said to the guy, well, what does it cost to go across there? He says, $5. And I says, well, why